I'm here today with a friend of mine, Jennifer Bartley. And Jennifer, you have an amazing story, and I've enjoyed getting to know you and getting to hear some of your story, and then kind of even where you're at these days. So, for people that don't know you, tell
Yeah.
us who you are and what you're about.
Well, I think we all have an amazing story, to be fair. I think
Yeah.
just had to say that. Yeah, so I am Tennessee transplant, originally from Texas. How much do you want me to go into this? What do you want me to say?
As much as
A
you'd
little
like.
okay, let me see if I can give the overview.
Okay.
So I am a Texas native, born and raised in Texas. Got married, and my husband and I, who I met in college in Texas, lived in the Austin area for quite a while, had the first of 4 children together. We have 4 boys.
Okay.
Um, and I originally went to school for a degree in marriage and family therapy. I was really involved with the Southern Baptist faith at the time. So my degree is from Southern Baptist Seminary, Southwestern Seminary in
Okay.
Fort Worth. But I quickly, like the month before I was going to graduate with my master's in therapy, I was having my first baby. So my plan was I will have all the kids, and when the youngest goes to kindergarten, I'll go back to work.
Okay.
So I was a stay-at-home mom for about 10 years because we had a billion kids,
Okay.
all 4 boys. And then we moved to Tennessee. The first, youngest was about 1, and we said we were going to live here for 2 years to all of our family's all in Texas.
Okay.
And we told them we're going to come for 2 years for his work and we'll be back. And it's been 11 years and we're still here.
Okay.
So in that time, all my kids have grown up here, the rest of the way. And I did start back to work in 2019 when my youngest started kindergarten.
Okay.
So I polished all my old therapy books up and
Yeah.
kind of did that rejoining the workforce thing, which was a stretch.
Okay.
And I've been I've been a part-time therapist for 6 years now, maybe 6 or 7, and have my own small private practice in Mount Juliet
Okay.
and work part-time and drive kids around to literally soccer. Like I'm like the stereotypical soccer mom. We're at soccer fields all the time.
So, just like family therapy and okay, counseling.
So my degree is in marriage and family therapy.
Okay.
So technically I have training to do like family systems, marriage counseling, and individuals. As it turns out, like I started working, I just told you before the podcast, but like when I started back to work, I worked just with perinatal clients. So pregnancy, postpartum, infertility, and loss,
Yeah.
all of that client
New
base.
moms.
New moms, new dads, lost moms and dads,
Mm.
like miscarriage. So I did that for about 2 years, and when I opened my private practice, I I see like an array of people: depression, anxiety, all kinds of life situations, mostly only adults. I don't see any kids or teens. And I see clients who are struggling with religious harm or high control group dynamics, deconstruction,
Yeah.
things like that also.
So kind of a variety.
Yeah.
So I've got a question. So
Yeah.
how does a counselor
Yeah.
counsel themselves? Because you've gone through some pretty major
Mhm.
life changes yourself, changes in your own perspective.
Mhm.
You know, how does a counselor go see a counselor?
Yes.
Okay.
1000% yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there are some counselors out there who tend to be a little bit more like, this is below me. I've seen that type who like doesn't go to therapy, but most of the therapists I know have participated as clients and find
Okay.
it valuable and helpful. Like, why would you not? Like, if you believe that what you're doing for someone else is helping them, like,
But I could see
yes,
I could see somebody thinking, "Well, I already know
exactly.
all the, steps to go through. I know
Yeah.
the habits to work on. I know the things to tell myself. I
Hmm.
already know those things.
Hmm.
I don't need somebody to tell me those things." But if part of your job, and I'm sure it is, no, it does something for somebody to be when they're listened to, to be
Yeah.
understood, to be
Yes.
heard,
Yes.
and so I'm serving that role for somebody.
Yeah.
People come to see me because they need to be heard. They need to see if what they're thinking is crazy, or if somebody says, "No, no, no, I totally understand that." They
Yeah.
might need validation. I might be in a spot where I feel like I need to be heard about some things,
Mhm.
or I need to feel some validation, or I need to check myself. Am I, you know,
All
going
the
off on a tangent?
Especially if you're sitting and holding space for someone all day long or multiple,
Mm,
you're doing that effort, then it's even more to me like helpful and valuable to have that flipped and now it's your turn. And
okay.
now not like it's time for someone else to sit with you and that hour is for you to talk about your stuff because if you're doing that for someone else all the time, I mean,
Right.
sometimes, we all need that. And so doing it and we all need it in relationships, so having friends,
Yeah.
is helpful, but professional therapy, like having that is so valuable. So like I'm not currently in therapy, but I've done a good amount and it's been like probably some of the most life-changing, helpful things for me has been me working with a therapist who I loved and adored.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm all for it.
So you and I met, I'm trying to remember. Um,
I remember.
okay.
Yeah.
How, how did we meet?
We met because you posted into the Facebook group for Hip Mount Juliet
Okay.
that you were gonna be at Panera, and
Okay.
you said,
That's right.
yeah, we're gonna
Okay.
have a group of people and Christians or religious people and non-religious people. We just want people to have discussions, and that's,
Yeah.
like, so up my alley. I love talking about religion and philosophy, and that was so appealing to me,
Yeah.
and yeah.
I think it's amazing if you can get people together who disagree
Mhm.
and they can explore those ideas and challenge each other. And even if sometimes you might hear something offensive, doesn't mean you have to take offense.
Yeah.
And so I try to intentionally get people out of their comfort zone and say, "Hey, we disagree, but we can talk about it." I mean, I can still care about you even if I
Mhm.
don't agree with how you view things. That doesn't mean we can't value each other. So let's schedule that. Let's do that on
Oh my
purpose,
gosh. I just
So
yeah. It's
s-
such a great like passion that you have and I don't know very many people who are interested in having conversations, difficult conversations and trying to do that well
yeah.
for the sake of doing just the conversation. I know a lot of people who want to debate and win
Yeah.
or change someone or win someone over and I think we all have a part of us that does that, but the idea to front that I want to have a conversation well and with someone different than me, so good.
I think it goes back to my business because I do granite countertops
Mhm.
day to day. Well, when you're carving something in stone,
Mhm.
you normally you get one shot at it, right? So if you're cutting let's say a sink cutout, you have to know exactly why you're cutting it the size that you are
Mhm.
and where you're cutting it. You have to know exactly why you're cutting it here as opposed to over here. And so if somebody comes up and says, "Hey, why are you cutting it that size?" You have to be able to tell them. And by the way, why are you cutting it right there? You have to be able to tell them, I'm cutting it here and not 2 inches over from there and not 2 inches over that way. I'm cutting it right here. And I'm cutting it exactly this size. And this is why. But if somebody ever comes up and says, "Hey, I think you're about to make a mistake," you're almost drawn to that, and you're, "Oh, hang on, is there something that I'm missing? Is there something that I'm not seeing correctly? I thought I measured this correctly. I
Mm.
thought I measured this. Tell me what I'm missing. Tell me what So you're almost drawn to it. And I have a friend of mine that does a lot of we've for the past decade or so, we've done a lot of automotive work and rebuilt motors and that kind of stuff. And those are amazing and fascinating. But it's the same way. I'm like, hey, if I'm not, am I supposed to grease this right here or does this need to be dry? And why? I want to understand that.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm just curious. And if I'm seeing something wrong and somebody knows something, I want to be aware of it. I don't want to walk around ignorant or walk around with an incorrect way of thinking about something. I
Mm.
want to be corrected. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that they're thinking about things wrong. And so if I can politely say, "Hey, maybe there's some areas that you haven't thought about," then hopefully they're receptive also. But yeah, it's been a challenging journey. So that's right. I put out on Facebook that I was going to be down at Panera for one of these type
Yeah.
conversations among believers and non-believers,
Yes.
and you showed up for that.
Yeah.
and it was great. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
Delightful.
we had a good time, and we did that several times.
Mhm.
Um, Now also you've come and participated in one of our events with, an audience.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
yeah.
You're gonna have to intro to my whole journey and to talk about that because that's really what happened.
Well, so you and I got together, well, which journey? I mean, you've been on a couple.
Well, my medical journey, because
Okay.
really what happened in the timeline was I came to like 2 of those Panera
Mhm.
events and I was like, this is so cool. And also, to be fair, I have a lot of friends from like not around here that are secular, that are like kind of have been through similar things as me, but I do not have very many in town, like people in the community that are involved at all in anything that's talking about religion or talking about different ideas or anything like that. It's
Hmm.
all like distant relationships. And so I was so excited to meet neighbors in this like local community.
Yeah.
And I was like all in. And then I got diagnosed with cancer like the next month
Yeah.
and I had to drop out of everything. And I remember thinking when I got in the process of like all the things that were impacted, one tiny little thought one day was, man, I really wanted to like plug into that and get involved. So,
Well, so I played a very small part in a group, an amazing group of people, and we did a thing called the Conversation Coalition, where we bring together people with opposing ideas and have challenging conversations. And so we did that. And one month we hadn't seen you for like 8 or 10 months. I feel like
mhm.
since the Panera.
But I've been getting emails about it
Yes,
while I was in treatment and I was
yes.
watching.
And the upcoming event was going to be death and suffering. Who does it better? Is it better to go through that process as a person of faith, or is it easier or less stressful or more if you're not a person of faith? We were going to be wrestling with all those kind of questions, and this that subject um, struck home with you
Yeah.
because your own mortality at that time was front and center. So
Yeah.
you called and said, "Hey, this one means something to me, and I've been out for a while, but I want to be a part of this one. I'd love to be a
Yeah.
part of that panel and share my thoughts
Yeah.
because what were you going through?"
Because in November of what year is it now? 2026. So November of 2025, I was doing routine blood work and they found out that my
24, I bet it
oh, it
was.
was 24.
Yeah.
You're right, because then 25 was a whole year of
Hmm.
treatment. So I was doing routine blood work, not really anything wrong, and my calcium was elevated and I was anemic and they put me on iron supplements and 4 weeks later my anemia was worse and I had been really sick with pneumonia just from like catching it from one of my kids and I couldn't get better. And they were like, "We're sending you to the hematologist because we're not sure why." And then the hematologist diagnosed me with multiple myeloma, which is a type of blood cancer that impacts the plasma cells that live in your bone marrow and um, so it goes all over your body. So it's a liquid cancer because blood is everywhere. It's a
Right.
blood cancer, kind of like leukemia. Leukemia is like the one more people are familiar with. It's
Okay.
not the same, but it's also a blood cancer.
Right.
So, yeah, had a very devastating year, very very hard year. Multiple myeloma is not curable. It used to be very untreatable, very, very hard diagnosis to have. It's the literal miracle of modern medicine is they've made a lot of progress.
Hmm.
So the treatments that I've gotten have helped like push it back, but I'll have to get treated eventually again for it. It'll come back.
Okay.
So
Well, as soon as I learned that, I instantly kind of dialed in right there because I lost my dad 30 years ago to that exact thing. He had bone marrow cancer.
yep.
And now here's somebody that I've met and come to really, like and enjoy spending time with. And I'm like, hang on. And now another person, has got it, except
Yeah.
that it seems to have had a little bit of a better, and you've been able to
Mhm.
get various treatments, stem cell
Yeah.
treatments.
Yes.
Okay.
So the beginning treatment is 4 months of like induction. So I would do weekly visits to like the clinic and they give me 2 different shots. And then I was taking a pill and steroids. They call it quadruplet therapy because there's 4
Okay.
different drugs you do for 4 months. That pushes the myeloma cells pretty far down,
Okay.
and then you do a stem cell transplant.
Hmm.
So they give you the first thing that they do is they harvest your stem cells, which live in your bone marrow. And the stem cells is like the foundational cell that, you've heard controversy about stem cells, right? Like,
Yeah.
because stem cells are the building blocks that make all kinds of other cells. So the stem cells that live in your bone marrow make your red and white blood cells. So they harvest your stem cells and freeze them. Then they give you a drug called melphalan that is very potent and toxic. It's actually a derivative of mustard gas, which
Wow.
they used to use in warfare.
Yeah.
The reason they do that is because the mustard gas kills all your bone marrow. So, again, science. They
Yeah.
figured out that they could use that to someone's benefit. So they give you the melphalan in the IV, and in the next 48 hours, it literally kills everything in your bone marrow. So you have blood floating around in your body, but you're not making new red and white blood cells because it's killed all the stem cells, which is
Right.
also the myeloma. So
Okay.
they knock it all the way down as much as they can with this very high intense drug.
Yeah.
And then uh, for 2 days later, they hook you up to an IV and they give you your own stem cells back. So they repopulate, the stem cells float back into your bone marrow and start making new white and red blood cells. Isn't
Wow.
that crazy?
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And how were they able to so I'm assuming that the stem cells weren't affected by, the myeloma.
So the stem cells and the myeloma were both in the same place in my bone marrow. And so the idea is that they give you the quadruplet therapy to push the myelomas
Okay.
down as much as possible. And
Okay.
then they think that when they take the stem cells out and freeze them, that kills almost all the myeloma.
Right.
You can't get them all, which is why this will come back. So even if I have
Ah.
one cell in a trillion
Mhm.
left, eventually, that's a problem. But it knocks it down so far when you do that most people, I mean, you can get 2, 5, 10, sometimes 15, 20 years of kind of remission
Yeah.
from a stem cell transplant
Before it comes back.
before it comes back.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alright, and then you may have
Yeah.
to do it again?
So the next thing, new science stuff, is CAR T therapy is what is on the horizon. So stem cell transplants have been a treatment for several decades for myeloma, but in the last 5 years, I would say CAR T therapy is new. So this is where you take your T cells out of your body and then program them in a lab to kill your cancer specifically. Then you put the T cells back in, and your own cells, instead of giving you chemotherapy, your own cells go kill the myeloma.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really cutting edge for a lot of the
It's
cancers.
amazing the warfare, parallels,
Yeah,
you
it is a
know?
war.
That is crazy, and you hear about people obviously fighting cancer and this, but
Yeah,
you really are doing battle with your cells there.
yeah.
So,
Well, it feels like battle. It was a very crummy 6 weeks of
sure.
recovery.
I kn
Very, very sick, like chemo. I
Right.
lost my hair, so this is my short haircut.
Okay.
But yeah, but I'm
How was
okay. I'm
how was
okay.
that process?
Losing your hair?
Yeah.
I would not recommend 0 stars.
Sure, sure. Well, so we had a neighbor, uh, that got cancer, and it was a sweet lady, older lady. She was a hoot. One of these times, I have to tell you about her. She was hilarious. Anyway, my wife and her were very, very close, and so when she started losing her hair, she called my wife and said, "Hey," she'd been a hairdresser. Like her hair was a major part of her life and career and all this stuff. I think on her business card it had her hair,
Yeah.
So it was kind of part of her
So,
brand, her
so
identity,
hard.
Anyway, so she called Patricia and said, "I need you to come shave my head."
Yeah.
And Patricia's like, I can't. What do you mean? I can't do that." She said, "Look, you're going to do it or I'm going to do it. So either
Yeah.
way, it's going right now." And so
Yeah.
Patricia shaved her head. And it was honestly, of course, they both cried through it and this and that, but it was a sweet, touching moment between friends, one of which is going through something terrible
Pretty
and
hard.
incredible, and the other one is, there with their friend, So, yeah, it's
Yeah.
a it's an unusual
Yeah,
thing.
but it's weird, the psychology, because when I got diagnosed and started looking up this type of cancer, like, the statistics were so daunting, like, the
Yeah.
life expectancy is scary, and especially, 10, 20, 30 years ago, it was even scarier. Right now, like, they're on the it's a weird thing to get diagnosed with something, and they're like, "We think we're about to cure it." Like, that's literally what they're saying. You're like
You're like, "Hey, my life is on the line here,"
Yeah.
not to add the pressure, but, you know.
Yeah. So I feel hopeful now, but I spent the first 6 months Googling life curves. Like, how long do I have? Like, how and imagining, like, how old will my kids be when I'm gone? Like, what
Mm,
I mean, horrific thoughts to be thinking. And
sure.
so when you think about losing your hair, but that's the best chance you have to extend that curve an extra 5, 10, 15 years, you're like, take it. Like, I do not care. Like, here's my
Right.
hair. But then when it's gone, you're like, "This really sucks." Like, you start to feel it doesn't matter in the moment when you just wanna live, but then, like, living without your hair, 'cause, like your wife's friend, like, I have very long blonde.
Yeah.
I'm very attached to my hair, I love my hair. And it's going on forever. Like, I still barely have, like, hair, and so
Yeah.
it's been hard. I'm
Yeah.
not gonna
You
lie.
wore a wig there for a while?
Yes, I actually wore a wig of my hair. So
Really? I
so
didn't know.
yeah,
I thought when I saw you, I was like, "That's a wig? That looks just
it was my hair.
okay."
Yeah.
Well, now it makes
So
sense.
I put my hair in all these little braids and then
Okay.
cut it really short
Yeah.
before the chemo killed it, and then I mailed that to this place called Chemo Divas, and they made me what they call a hat hair wig. So it has, like, just fabric on the top, and then your hair is around the edge, but so when you put a baseball hat on, I mean, it looks like you. Like,
Yeah.
it was such a lifesaver because I could take everything off, I'm totally bald, but I could go out about my day and in the mirror, like, no one could even tell, like, I
Right.
just had a hat on, so
Yeah.
that helped. But
That's
then I got sick of
awesome.
it, so now, like, I did that for about 4 months, and then I was like, "I can't stand baseball hats anymore, I can't stand this wig," and, like, when I had enough, I was like, "We're moving on."
Yeah.
So,
You'll probably never wear a baseball hat again.
yeah, 'cause it blocks your vision a little bit.
Sure.
Ugh, I'm
Oh, I
over it.
know.
I'm over it. Yeah.
So, you've been through this whole journey with cancer.
Yes.
What does your aftercare look like? Or
Yeah.
do you just not surely you just don't check in for the next few
No, no, no,
years?
no. So after the stem cell, the standard thing for myeloma is to go on maintenance therapy. So there's one drug called Revlimid that most people go on. I've been on it forever. So I take a daily pill that suppresses my immune system, but also suppresses any lingering myeloma and should continue clear. Like, if there's a cell in a trillion, you hope that the Revlimid is going to push anything down from regenerating or, copying itself.
Okay.
I'll be on that for probably 4 years, and then if I'm still in remission, they'll take me off everything, and I can coast until my numbers switch back. But I do monthly blood draws, to check. It's like a monthly draw, and I'm in a clinical trial for that, and so they're
Is that the one
comparing.
you've been traveling for?
Yes,
Okay.
travel to MD Anderson. It was once a week for the fall, now it's
Yeah.
once a month because
Okay.
they're comparing Revlimid versus a new type of Revlimid called, what is it? Iberdomide. So it's like a new generation of that kind of drug. So half the people obviously get
A
Revlimid,
placebo,
half get
yeah.
the placebo. The placebo is Revlimid though. Everybody gets something.
Sure,
So
sure.
I'm in the placebo group, but
Okay.
whatever. I'm doing it for science. I'm doing it for people after me because, hopefully the data from that trial will help them know if that drug is better for maintenance or if it's not worth it or whatever.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Okay. So,
So
and where was that you were going to?
MD Anderson is a
Where's that?
huge cancer center in Texas.
In Texas.
Mhm.
So you were going Tennessee to Texas once a week there for a
Once
while.
a week.
Wow.
So, yeah,
Fly down.
fly down, 2-hour flight, get an Uber, 20 minutes to the hospital, go usually spend the night and then come home.
And
But
do a blood draw or something while you're there?
do the blood draw, do all my labs, go to the clinical trial. That's very fancy at the clinical trial stuff. It has to be like, talk about faith in medicine. And like when people say like this data is from a clinical trial, like it's been really interesting to know what that is
I
because
bet.
the standards are so high that they have to have in order for their data to be acceptable for like a journal or the research. Like I have to get my blood drawn in a special facility by trained people, and it all has to be labeled just so and sent in a certain way so that the trial data is good.
Mhm.
But I will say, because I'm in a clinical trial, like, they pay for everything. So my flights, my Uber, my hotel, food while I'm there is all reimbursed.
Okay.
So
So,
that's
yeah, that was
nice.
just part of conducting the study is we're gonna have
Yeah.
to get these people here so that we can take these tests
I mean,
and
it's big pharma. I mean, they're gonna make
Sure,
$1
sure.
billion off the new drug,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
they should compensate the clinical trial
Absolutely, but
participants.
that's just part of it.
But
So,
it'll also help people save their lives. It's like such a
yeah.
mixed bag with that kinda stuff.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
So so that's been a big thing, a big part of your life.
Yes.
Now, getting back to what brought you to these conversations,
Yes. Yes.
um, you were raised religious,
Yes.
and then at some point things changed?
Mhm.
What's that story?
So, born and raised in Texas, raised in a Southern Baptist family. So, from my grandpa to my mom, my dad grew up like Catholic, but as my parents got married and had kids, we were Southern Baptist churches. So, from birth all the way through children's ministry, all the way through youth group, which was the 90s youth group era in
Oh,
evangelical culture
very
was a
familiar.
thing. I mean, it was a whole cultural movement. And so
Yeah.
I was right in the middle of that, like purity culture, I Kiss Dating Goodbye, weekend retreats, summer camps, mission trips, youth choir. And I'm the oldest of 4 kids, oldest daughter of 4 kids. And so
Mm.
the desire to be good and the desire to follow the rules was just part of my core nature. So church being like this entire outlet of like, here's how you live the right way, and
Mm.
here's who God is, and here's how you follow God. I mean, I just was an instantly drawn to all of that. And
Yeah.
so my it wasn't just religion. Like once I got to high school, it was like leadership at youth group, Bible studies multiple nights a week, trying to convert people from my high school that were not Christian, accountability groups, not dating because it wasn't like, I was saving myself for my husband and like feeling like dating was leading someone on if it wasn't going to lead to marriage. So just very, very, very involved and impacted by church. And I'll say, like at the time, loved it. Had a very good experience, felt loved by the people there, got a lot out of it, enjoyed it. It wasn't like anybody forced me to go to
Right.
church.
Yeah.
I was just in it.
So, and when you and your husband got married, both of you guys were believers and
Yes.
continued along that path.
Met him in college. He was involved in a Bible study at his church. He was like a leader for a college ministry, and I was doing a whole bunch of church stuff. And so he fit the bill, and we got married right after graduation. And then we did apartment ministry. I don't know if you've ever heard of
I've not
apartment
heard of
ministry.
apartment ministry.
Yeah, so we got married and couldn't well, it was expensive, right? Like fresh out of college to pay for apartments, and so this opportunity was available where we could do something called apartment life. So we were basically missionaries in an apartment complex, but they were pitching to the apartment complex that we were social organizers to help with retention. So we would do a Saturday morning breakfast for the residents at the apartment, and we would do these events on a event calendar throughout the month, and people loved it. Like it wasn't religious based. Like we would
Okay.
just do events for helping people get involved in the apartment
Okay.
community.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and so it helped create retention, but behind closed doors and completely held back from the apartment management was this evangelical like intention that like we were actually there to have intentional spiritual conversations and conversion conversations with the residents, so much so that we were submitting reports every month about how many church conversations, church attendances, salvations, and baptisms we had had with the residents.
So, let me make sure I understand this. It's like your church sent you undercover?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. It wasn't our church, it was like an independent church arm. Like Apartment Life is a ministry
Okay.
that is run as a
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
It's
yeah.
all very messy. So
Wow.
yeah, but the perk was here's the perk for 2 newlyweds fresh out of
You
college,
probably get a free apartment.
$200 a month for an
Okay.
apartment.
Yeah.
And then all of our hours were free. Like we didn't get paid for any of the resident
Yeah.
things we did, but we got this very, very affordable apartment.
Right.
Yeah. Cares by Apartment Life.
Okay.
Look it up. I think it still exists, actually.
Okay.
So my husband and I did that.
All right.
I went to grad school at Southwestern Seminary to get a degree in marriage and family therapy. And then we got pregnant, like right as I was about to graduate, and hadn't really thought through the finances of that. Like literally was 6 months pregnant. We were like, so am I going to like stay at home? Like, how are we going to afford things like in 6 months when I have this baby? I
Yeah.
know, to be young.
Yeah. We'll handle it. I don't know. We'll do something.
Just cute little 22-year-olds without a clue.
Yeah.
And then our first baby was born. I didn't have a job. He found himself without a job too. We ended up moving back in with my parents with our first child and went back to CARES because that got us out of my parents' house.
Okay.
So we did CARES and he got a job in the tech industry. And we did CARES for like 2 more years, and that apartment had another child. Well, so I would like haul my 2 babies to Walmart and get a, 4 dozen eggs and all this stuff for a pancake breakfast. And I kind of worked as the CARES person while he
Okay.
worked at his job.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, this is a longer story
Not
than
at
it should be.
all.
Okay, so we did CARES, and we're having babies, and then I would say I was still very fervently religious. Like I was involved in all the Bible studies still, doing mom's Bible studies at that point, leading small groups out of our house. Well, not out of our apartment. And then by the time our third came along, we actually figured out how to buy a house for all of our kids. But we were still really involved. And then I think at about that time, I started to have more and more questions about several things that started pushing up against my faith. I had
Okay.
done some research on how we got the Bible in college and had some questions about like how the New Testament came together, the inerrancy questions. I took New Testament at my secular university, and I remember learning about like the Q source concept and some of the like parallel gospel like readings, and realizing like, oh, like I kind of in my mind before that had thought like this vision of like the disciples writing this out in their own hand, and that God sort of whispered to them what to write.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, oh, but it seems like some of this was copied off each other, and like we don't have all the like the data, and I don't understand this Q source that like how is this it was not what I thought it was. And that
I've
was
heard
kind
that
of the first seed that I was like, this doesn't sound like what they said it was.
I've heard that seminary produces a lot of atheists because they learn more about how we got these texts and
Yeah.
how we got, and the more they dig in, the more they're like, oh, well, we've kind of made a lot of this up, you know?
Well, for me, seminary wasn't about the Bible and how it was written because I was mostly in the therapy program. But Paige Patterson was in charge of Southwestern Seminary, who is a very, very controversial character in the Southern Baptist Convention.
Okay.
And it was so conservative, so much more than I was used to. Like girls had to wear skirts and they couldn't talk in chapel because they were just like leading men, and they were like crushing down on all of these like things that to me were like alarm bells were going off. And I would be talking to my like friends in seminary and being like, I hate this. I hate that we have to go to this chapel. This is cringing me out that we have to wear skirts. Paige Patterson gave me very creepy vibes. I was like, this is gross. Like he had a big trophy room, and he was doing this whole thing to have all these stained glass windows made with his face and his wife's face. Like it was
Nice.
there was signs. So I was starting to have this loud, like protesting voice inside of me that I still believe, but I was like becoming rebellious in the sense, like, I don't like this. I don't like what I'm seeing here. And I was starting to have questions about that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So where did these questions take you? What were the first big cracks
Okay,
in your faith?
so the big cracks that started pushing on it was the doctrine of hell.
Mm.
Just I didn't understand like the statistical numbers of how many people weren't born again Christians and how many people didn't have the opportunity to like become that, and then they would all go to hell. And here I am having babies, so I'm starting to think through the consequences of like, what would that mean for all these millions of people? Like, it just was starting to bother me more. I remember asking questions about the story of Abraham and Isaac
Mhm.
and being like, I don't like this. Like, as a parent, I don't like this story. Like, I'm not
Mm.
just about buying the obedient part. And I asked that to a friend in my very conservative church. And I was like, I really don't like this story. I think that this is concerning. She was like, yeah, like, I just try not to think about it.
Okay.
you know, you know? And I'm just carrying all of these questions, and then the LGBTQ policy was starting to not make sense to me. Like, it
Mhm.
was starting to not make sense that we couldn't affirm people, but I understood that they were like, they weren't making it up and like starting to sit through, well, then, like, what are we going to do for them? Like, do they need to be celibate? Like, is that fair? Is that just? Like, how do we handle this glaring issue? And all of that was building up, and my conservative church did a series called something about breaking down the walls, and there were all these examples of, like, do you have a wall of addiction, or do you have a wall of this, or do you have a wall of disbelief?
Mm.
And I was like, I have a wall of, like, I remember telling my small
I feel
group
like I've got
that.
a few bricks stacked up on this old
Yeah.
somebody named it. Somebody finally identified it, and you said, "That one kinda feels like me."
Yeah. I was like, I think I have questions here.
Yeah.
And then Rob Bell's book came out. I know he has a lot, but his book Love Wins came out
Okay.
at the same time where Kindle was coming around. And so I didn't purchase Love Wins, but I bought it on my Kindle
Okay.
and I read it in the dark,
Mm.
kind of secretly.
I
Because
think I remember you telling me about that.
did I? Maybe at one of our
No, no, it was
coffees.
I know another guy who was reading on a Kindle
Okay.
as he was deconstructing his faith,
Yeah.
and, anyway, but he was the pianist for a traveling evangelist,
Mhm.
and so he would be traveling with this evangelist, and meanwhile, off in the corner, he's deconstructing on reading these
Yes.
different things on his Kindle, so,
It's
um,
terrible.
anyway, so you're reading these things, Rob Bell's book?
I'm reading Rob Bell. I'm like, oh, this makes sense to me.
Okay.
Okay. I'm also reading Bart Ehrman.
Mm.
So to pick back up on my questions about the inerrancy, I'm reading Misquoting Jesus, and I'm
Mm.
like, oh, and I ordered a DVD that came in the mail, and it was Bart Ehrman, and I can't remember the other scholar. You can see it on YouTube, and they said, is the New Testament reliable?
Mm.
And they had an hour and a half long, very scholarly debate about whether we can can we trust the New Testament text?
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I I didn't even know the things the conservative scholar was saying about how we got the Bible. Like, my mind was blown.
Yeah.
And after that, I was like, I don't I don't think that this seems likely that the Bible is what I thought it was, as
Yeah.
far as our trust that the source is what it is, and we even have the copies of everything. It was a huge, huge shift in my
Yeah.
perspective. And so that was pushing up against it, LGBT stuff, the idea of hell. Then I made friends with a Mormon
Mm.
as another mom, and we would do park play dates, and she started trying to convert me.
Mm.
And I was friends with her, and we had a lot in common, but she kept kind of pushing like the Mormon theology, and I felt like I was watching myself do what I had done
Oh, wow.
to all of the people in apartment life and all the evangelism ministries. And I was like, don't like it. Don't like how this feels, because
Mm.
here's a person that I just want to be friends with. And I'm a project. Like, to her, I'm a project.
Yeah.
And I kind of like let that play out.
It's
And I,
so amazing you just used that word project 'cause, one of my friends,
okay.
because I go and I visit with these different pastors. I'll go to their churches,
Yeah.
I'll sit in their Sunday schools, the whole deal. And then we'll have conversations later in the week, and I'll tell them all the things that I didn't like about their sermon or whatever. And a friend of mine told me just this week, he said, you're their project, right? And I hadn't really heard it just like that. And honestly, I said, I'm okay with that. Don't mind it because they're kind of my project also.
Mhm.
I'm trying to, when I challenge them and that kind of thing, I'm trying to increase their critical thinking. I'm trying to enlighten them also on things that maybe they haven't heard or area aspects they haven't thought about, that kind of thing. So if I'm their project, that's fine because I mean they're kind of mine also.
Yeah.
So we'll just work on each other. And I guess that's where the tension is, and that's
That is where
where
the
those
tension
2
is.
worlds
Mhm.
come together, so
Well, it's hard because yeah, I think it's true that we all come into relationships with an agenda. Like, even if it's not about religion, like, we meet together mutually, and, like, we're all getting something out of it. We all have, like, things behind it. It was just that, like, I was trained in youth group evangelism classes so like, effectively that, like, I knew that there was, like, a series of questions I could it was manipulation too. It was like there was a series of questions I was supposed to ask, and there was a series of prayers I was supposed to be praying while I asked it, and I was supposed to list people out in a prayer journal and pray for their salvation, and then I was supposed to do something about that, and there it was such a loaded, pressured thing that then watching someone do it to me, I was so turned off by it.
sure.
And then I also recognized this was kind of sort of where the cracks get bigger. I had done a lot of research on Mormonism and Joseph Smith and sort of the credibility of that belief system because I had Mormon friends in high school. And at the time, from an evangelical perspective, I was told Mormonism is a cult. Here's why, here's the data.
Mhm.
So as my friend is evangelizing me, I'm like, she's really intelligent. She's got a college degree. I respect her. And she believes this stuff. And like, I have this like glaring examples of why I think this is untrue. And she still believes it.
Mhm.
The next day, I'm going to my community Bible study group and we're studying Revelation. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're going through like these plagues and these prophecies with a literal interpretation
Mm,
view. And I'm like, this is the same. Like
right.
I am accepting that there's a certain cubic radius of heaven, doing the math on that, and I'm judging my Mormon friend for believing things that doesn't have archaeological evidence.
Right.
Like I'm the same. And
Yeah.
so as my mind started spinning, how it felt to me was I was recognizing like this is religion. I have religion. I believe things that are probably not based in fact because it's my religion. She has a religion. And the all of it just all of those things started to kind of converge. And for me, I put all my kids down for a nap one day, not too long after that, and I walked out. And I don't remember what initiated the thought, but I had the thought in my head, I don't think I believe any of this anymore.
Mm,
Boom. I think that this is a man made religion, just like there's man made religions all across the world.
yeah.
And I stepped onto my back patio in the hot Texas sun and I sat down. And my next thought was, well, what was all the praise and worship for then?
Mm,
Who have I been singing to? Because I love praise and worship songs.
sure.
And I was just like, I mean, I guess I'm singing to no one. Like, and so that was the kind of the big thing. And then after that, I just sort of sat in an empty, isolated silence. Like I was dumbfounded. I
S
didn't know what to do with that thought.
There's so many questions that come up at that moment.
Mhm.
You mentioned the praise and worship songs. Was I singing to no one? Is this just a psychological thing that I've been doing, that people do, that you know so then you start thinking about all the psychological aspects of it, and how do you get a crowd an
Yeah.
into an emotional state, and
Mhm.
things like that. And of course, the inner workings of all these things now, and you're experiencing it from a friend, and um yeah, it kind of wrecks your world for a while.
Yeah, I was waking up in the middle of the night Googling like atheism or agnosticism after Christianity. And I was having almost panic attacks because I was
Mm,
like, I can't believe I'm doing this because a part of my brain didn't believe and a part of me thought I was like really messed up. Like the fear that like I was now a backslidden, like, you know, Satan influenced and non-follower, like,
okay,
that's, like, the worst case scenario.
right,
Like, have an affair, create murder, become an unbeliever, like, the worst possible outcome, and here I am, like, I'm, like, the perfect little Christian girl
yeah,
who's done it right the whole way, everyone I'm so socialized to be the good girl,
yeah,
that the thought of what has happened now with my kind of cognitive belief is causing a very traumatic
Yeah. Feels
crisis.
completely foreign.
Yes, very,
Wow.
very bad.
Yeah.
And I was worried about my kids. I was like, what? In the time, even though I didn't believe it, I was like, now my kids can't go to heaven because I'm going to mislead them the wrong direction. Like,
Mm.
I'm a bad influence on everyone around me.
Well, you're questioning all these things,
Mhm.
and then at some point you're like, "Yeah, that's not real," you know?
Well, that took like 10 years.
Did it?
Yes, it
Really?
took 10 years. Yeah.
So, did you talk to your husband at the time and tell him what was going on?
I told him that I was struggling with my beliefs, and at about that same time, they asked me to be a children's pastor at our church because I, you know,
Yeah.
wasn't working. And I was like, I can't sign their statement of faith, Colin. Like and I didn't want to tell them why, but I was like, I don't know. I didn't know what to do with it. Like, so I told him I didn't want to do it. But I wasn't talking to anyone. I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't have anyone who I felt like was safe. My husband has always been like kind of chill about religion. Like I'm
Okay.
like the emotional, like this is serious
Yeah.
person. And he was always happy to come along and like read the Bible or go to church, even cares like the ministry, but like, I don't know. I think he was just like, okay, well, let's see where that goes.
Yeah.
And I'm like having a crisis.
Yeah.
And then what happened was I kind of played along. Well, I stopped going to a Bible study that I've been going to. I literally walked out of a service.
Mm.
They were having a discussion about Genesis and how marriage was between one man and one woman. And she was saying some really vulgar things about it. And I stood up, walked out, got my baby from the nursery and drove home. And I'm like, I'm never going back. Like, I can't do this.
And didn't, I guess,
Didn't do it.
and never went back.
Never went back to that Bible study, but we were
Okay.
still leading a small group. And I didn't disclose to anyone in my church about it. I will tell you what we did instead. My husband texted me about a month later and said, I just got a job offer in Nashville.
Oh, yeah, that's right, I
So
remember.
here we are.
Instead of having to really confront these things, you
Yeah.
were able to dip out of town and just
Yeah.
be like, "You
We
know
moved
what?
across the country.
Miss you guys so much." Because I remember one of our early conversations, I was like, "What was that like, walking away from your church family
Yeah,
and all
yeah,
these things?" You were like, we just kinda moved out of town
yeah.
and it kinda worked itself out,
I
you
know.
know? So
I'm not saying everyone should do that, but like it worked for me.
So you guys moved to Nashville and
Mhm.
then didn't pick up the same pieces.
Well, we did go to church still. Like I
Okay.
wanted my kids to be in church, so we tried 3 or 4 different we're in like Nashville, like conservative evangelical churches,
Oh, they're on every corner, yeah.
Bible churches. Yeah, I tried it. Where were our neighbors going? But I was struggling, but I was happy to go. But like I would keep my eyes open during the prayer and cry because I was like, I was so torn up about what I believed and what I should do that I wanted to be there, but it was really painful to be there.
Mm,
I never like rejoined a Bible study. I never did
sure.
anything where I had to have conversations. But we attended church for probably 5 years, and then COVID hit, and the church that we were a part of voted to become unaffirming, and I was like, "We're out. We're
Okay.
done."
Wow.
Never went back.
And so never went back after that.
Yeah, I mean, there was problems, like, there was a sermon where they were talking about hell and Satan, and, I was starting to sort of, like, talk to my boys about my beliefs, like,
Mm, and how old are they at this point?
probably, like, 16, 14, 12, and whatever 12 minus
'Kay.
nine-ish, middle and high, and an elementary kid, and, I was saying, like, "I want you guys to believe whatever you decide, and I want you to be okay changing your minds, and, like, here's my situation, like, I've changed my perspectives over time, and I don't want you to believe what I believe as the authority, like,
Right.
here's kind of, like, some different ways people view religion, and even when we go to church, I want you to know, like, that's just someone's opinion. Like, the pastor is just a human
Yeah.
who has a degree and an opinion. They're not God's, like, special person, they're just doing it for a living.
Right.
And I talked to them about Satan and hell, and I was like, "I don't believe in that. Like, I don't believe Satan's real, and I don't believe hell's real, so take that as you will. I don't want you to be scared about that."
Yeah.
Well, one day in Sunday school, they were teaching about Satan because it was
Mm.
part of the sermon, and my little boy raised his hand. He's like, "My mom said Satan's not real." And the
You got
teacher
outed.
yeah, the teacher pulled me over in the hallway after, and she was like, "I just want you to know that, like, this is what happened in class today." And I was kind of like, I don't know what to say
Mm,
back to this." And she said, "Yeah, like, I'm afraid to talk to my kids about Satan also because it's so scary. Like, he's so real that, like, it's scary for a little kid." And I was just like, "Okay, well, thanks, bye." And so we went home and I was like, "Guys, this isn't real. It's not true." And I was just like, so before the LGBTQ stuff and before COVID, that was like the month before. And I was already like, I just don't want my kids learning this stuff. Like,
yeah,
I don't want them to be told to be scared of hell. I don't want them to be scared of Satan. Like, I'm not doing this.
right.
So that was the crack. And then we left after that. And I've probably spent 5 more years trying to figure out what I believed, how to say it to the people I love, and eventually, like, kind of came out on social media and was like, I wouldn't consider myself to be an evangelical Christian, and I've been kind of outspoken about it since then.
Have you?
Oh, yeah, to the detriment of some relationships, and I think my social standing in the Bible Belts.
Okay.
People don't like hearing that.
Wow. So I haven't. So a lot of people that know me know that I have conversations. I don't know that they know exactly what my stances are.
Yeah,
If they watched,
yeah.
I feel like they should know.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's led to some difficult conversations. But you have to have those sometimes with family and friends, and you
Yeah,
know. But I think it's good to be authentic to who you are, and what we believe right now may or may not be always what we believe. I mean, I've been through this much of a change. Who knows if I go through another change? I could,
yeah,
but wherever I'm at, I'm going to be open and honest and tell people where I'm at in that moment.
yeah.
So it's an adventure. It's a
It certainly is.
heck of a ride.
It is certainly a heck of a ride,
Yeah,
especially when, like, well, it's fine to change your mind, but, like, it was kind of a Matrix moment when you kind of think the entire way that you thought the world and everything around it existed turns out to be not what you think anymore.
right.
Like, it
Well,
feels
and
very
you
destabilizing.
were telling me before we turned everything on here that now you've started an organization to
Mhm.
to tell me about that.
Okay, so when we moved to Nashville, before we left the church ultimately, I started to try to process my belief shifts. And so I read some like Faith Shift by Kathy Escobar, Sarah Bessey, like Out of Sorts, just different people. There was no like deconstruction community at the time that maybe in the far corners that I didn't know existed. But I was
Sure.
reading books. But at some point, I was like, I think probably someone else has been through something like this.
Right.
I was like, I think this must be a thing that people go through.
Yeah.
And it just occurred to me that, like, this was something people went through and they probably needed support for it because I didn't have any. And I would have loved to have someone who could pull me aside and kind of support me in it. And it was about that same time that I had started doing therapy again. And so I was doing perinatal therapy, very different, but I started researching religious trauma therapy and therapy for people who are going through a faith crisis or deconversion or whatever. So I spent the last 5 years, like, doing that kind of therapy for people, like, helping people with that, and then when I got sick, I started a website called Healing from Religion and have been like, the vision was that people could find information about, recovering from different types of religious harm because there's a lot of different ones, and so that was kinda like my baby while I wasn't really working very much last year, but I was like, "I'm gonna build this website."
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now how many people have you seen? And,
Oh, I mean, okay, so I still work with Marlene Winnell, who wrote Leaving the Fold. Dr. Marlene Winnell, like, she was one of the first therapists who brought attention to the concept that there was mental health repercussions for people who were harmed in religion or who changed their religious perspective. So her concept was religious trauma syndrome because she was seeing clients in her office, kind of she sort of got that niche. And she was like, these people are all going through a lot. Like, and
mm,
there's some symptoms, like there's some predictable things people are going through. And so she wrote some articles about that, like about a decade ago. And then she wrote Leaving the Fold. So she's been doing it. She has an organization that does support groups and counseling for people in that position. So I am a volunteer who's like, I've led some of her support groups with her.
Yeah.
Um, and so I've just loved helping in that community because it's so isolating. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, so I do that. I mean, it's not all the clients that I have because I still have like
Sure.
perinatal clients and like clients that just come in because they're struggling in their marriage or whatever.
Right.
But I have helped people who have deconstructed and are in the middle of that. And
Okay.
I really enjoy that.
All right. Well, you've been through so many different things, and I love getting your perspective on um various topics. So I hope you'll be a regular up here and come see me, and we'll talk
Yeah.
about news or whatever things are going on, or as things change. Um, Definitely keep us updated on your health and how you're doing with that.
Thanks. Yeah, I will.
So you're one of the people that I hope is a regular up here because I love your perspective on things. So I've got a few of those. I've got other people that I'm like, I'll talk to that guy, but
Okay, well, I'm glad I'm not on that
only for a
list.
minute, yeah, you're definitely not on
I'm
that
not on the
list.
never again list.
No, you're definitely not on the never again list. You're on
Okay.
the, "Hey, we need to get our perspective every once in a while and just
Yes, have me back.
we'll
I
do a little
just
check-in, and we'll
Yeah.
see, 'Hey, how are things going now?
Yeah.
How are we
You
doing?'"
can watch my hair grow back.
Okay.
That's
Well,
exciting.
it's already a lot longer because I saw it
Yeah.
one time before, I
Yeah.
think. I forget if you
I've
took.
got like an inch probably.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
Well, you're getting there.
Yeah. It,
So,
just like life,
that's
things
right.
change,
There you go.
things heal.
All right, I'll see you next time.
Thanks,
All
Gary.
right.